that took place earlier today. So let's bring in our friend Andrij Dobriansky on this. Today, Andrij is live from Budapest. He's the chair of the UN Affairs at the Ukrainian World Congress. It's always good to have you on the show. Prisoner exchange, let's start there. Listen, as Zelenskyy said, I actually put up Zelensky's quote on the screen, as the alarm is heard, it means there's no agreement to end the war. We all understand this. There is an exchange of prisoners today, and I congratulate all the families who will meet their loved ones at home. Very good. 157 Ukrainians, the Ukrainian part of that, have returned home. So, okay, is it an end of the war? No. Is it a step forward? Yes. Is that fair?
It is as much as we can do in this trilateral process. It was as much as could be done last year in Istanbul when President Trump asked for the two sides to meet, and all that could be agreed upon because of the type of low-level people that Russia is sending is these kind of prisoner exchanges. So I concur with the President Zelenskyy saying that this is a good thing, because when you're talking about prisoners of war in this war, 95% of Ukraine's prisoners of war, those Ukrainians who were captured by Russia, 95% have reported torture being done to them, and a full half of that includes sexual violence against them. So we welcome anybody being returned out of that, but we also believe that the people living in occupied territory are living under similar conditions.
I take your point, and I take your point when you start with the phrase something to the effect of, it's as much as we could do. It leads to the obvious conclusion or follow-up question that there's, how far can you get, even with these talks? They're all in the same room, all three, even the United States. So people say, all right, maybe they'll make some progress. But is there a limit to that progress, in your view?
It's clearly a limit, and we believe it's coming from the Russian side. We have an American delegation that is working directly with President Trump. Anything that Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner talk about, that they're going to talk directly to the president. The same thing with this delegation and the makeup of it. President Zelenskyy assigned his chief of staff. He has his deputy chief of staff there. He has his commanders that he talks to on a regular basis. Who is being sent from the Russian side are lower-level military personnel that could be dismissed by a dictator whenever. So we're talking about different levels of people, no ministers, no ranking officials of any type. And really, it seems that Russia is playing for time. And while that's happening, I want to remind people of the vicious temperatures that are happening in Ukraine. Today, it was 8 degrees in Kyiv, which is an improvement from the -8 it was on Sunday.
Right, and they keep hitting Kyiv. Even the other day, we talked about that. Strikes keep coming, even though, Russia said that that wouldn't be happening at this period of time with the weather in the winter as it was. Okay, we get all of that. So to some extent, I ask myself, are these kind of conversations that are leading nowhere? In other words, are we talking in circles about all of this? Does it actually matter if Putin's not going to commit to anything? The Ukrainians, there's supposedly a conversation, I saw some polling the other day, that maybe people are more open to actually, because they're so war-weary, you may disagree, give up some land, even in the Donbass, if they get a real security guarantee. A, is that true? But B, does it matter if Putin's not going to agree to stop fighting?
Your second point is the more important one, being that President Putin does not see maximum pressure coming from the White House. It does not see that Steve Witkoff or Jared Kushner are even interested in heading over to Ukraine, much like Kamala never visited the border. We have people who are discussing this who aren't actively getting involved in the process on the details on the ground. But they are there, and they're talking with President Trump, and the Ukrainians are talking with President Trump. Who is not being truthful here is President Putin. And you talked about the strikes that happened during that time that President Trump agreed on a ceasefire against, during the cold. I'll mention the fact that the one place that they did on the first night is that they hit a factory for Philip Morris, an American company in Kharkiv. They decided to hit that as a message to President Trump saying, you know what, we won't hit the electric stations of Kyiv, but we'll do this American company. And that's our message, saying we decide when we stop fighting, not you.
Yeah, pretty clear message. But, that's it. Again, the prisoner swap, we'll take that as good news, but we understand the limits that you're talking about. Andrij, it's always good to have you on today, live from Budapest. Now, as we